Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins All World. Today, we have something incredible to share with you. We're talking about the 1964 US 5-cent coin, commonly known as the nickel. Now, most people think of nickels as just pocket change, but did you know that the 1964 nickel could be worth an eye-popping $35,000? That's right, $35,000 for a single coin. Stick around, and I'll tell you exactly why this 5-cent piece is worth more than a small fortune. Host holds up the 1964 nickel and zooms in on its details. Host: so, let's dive into the fascinating world of this rare and valuable nickel. Cut to vintage footage showing the United States in the 1960s, scenes of the economy, cultural shifts, and the minting of coins. Host: first, let's talk about the 1964 US nickel. The nickel is part of the Jefferson series, which was first issued in 1938 and remains in circulation today. The 1964 version features President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with his famous portrait, and on the reverse, you'll find Monticello, his Virginia home. This design has been the hallmark of the nickel for decades and is a favorite among collectors. Cut to close-up of the 1964 nickel showing the design of Thomas Jefferson and Monticello. Host: while most 1964 nickels are just your average coins, there's a very specific minting error that makes some of them worth thousands of dollars. And when you find one, it can completely change the value of your coin collection. Camera zooms in on a magnifying glass as it hovers over the 1964 nickel, highlighting the details. Host: so, what's the secret behind this nickel's incredible value? The answer lies in a rare mint error that occurred during the production of some 1964 nickels. You see, a small batch of these coins was struck with a die crack error, which means a crack appeared in the die used to strike the coin, resulting in a distinct raised line or ridge on the coin's surface. Host demonstrates the die crack error by showing a 1964 nickel with the visible crack. Host: this die crack is most noticeable on the reverse side of the coin near the bottom of Monticello. It's a thin line that runs through the building, and it's not something that happens every day. Only a small number of these nickels have this error, and they're incredibly sought after by collectors. Cut to footage of a coin expert examining a 1964 nickel under a high-powered microscope. Host: mint errors like this don't happen on every coin, which is why the ones with die cracks are so rare. These cracks happen when the die, which is responsible for stamping the design onto the coin, starts to wear out or becomes damaged. If the crack is deep enough, it can imprint onto the coin itself, resulting in a defect that makes the coin stand out from all the others. Host holds up a 1964 nickel with a visible die crack and compares it with a normal 1964 nickel. Host: now, while not every 1964 nickel has this error, finding one with a die crack significantly increases the value of the coin. It's important to note that the severity of the crack also plays a role in how much the coin is worth. The more pronounced and visible the error, the higher the value. Cut to a scene of an exciting coin auction with bidders actively raising their paddles. Host: mint error coins, especially ones with unique characteristics like this die crack, are highly coveted in the numismatic community. Collectors are constantly searching for rare errors like these, as they add a layer of history and rarity to their collections. With only a small number of 1964 nickels featuring the die crack, the demand for these coins is extremely high. Host displays a professional-grade 1964 die crack error nickel in a protective coin case. Host: coins with this type of error don't just sit around, they often fetch high prices at auctions because of their rarity and the excitement they generate among bidders. The 1964 nickel with a die crack error is no exception, and collectors are willing to pay big money for a well-preserved example. Cut to a dramatic scene of a coin auction, with a bid being placed on a 1964 nickel with a die crack. Host: so, how much could your 1964 nickel be worth if you happen to have one of these rare die crack error coins? Depending on the condition and severity of the crack, a 1964 nickel with this error could be worth a staggering $35,000. Host holds up the 1964 die crack error nickel with excitement, emphasizing the price. Host: that's right, $35,000 for a single 1964 nickel with the right mint error. For a coin that was originally worth just 5 cents, that's an incredible return on investment. Cut to the host holding the 1964 nickel under a magnifying glass and pointing out key features. Host, wondering how to spot a 1964 nickel with the die crack error? First, check the reverse side of the coin, specifically, look at Monticello. If you see a raised line or a crack running through the building, that's the die crack error you're looking for. Host shows a zoomed-in view of the die crack on the reverse side of the coin. Host, make sure you examine the coin carefully, as the die crack should be visible without a magnifying glass, but using one will help you spot it more clearly. Also, check the coin's condition. Coins in better condition with a clearer error will fetch a higher price. Host flips through a box of old coins and checks each one closely. Host, coin collecting is all about finding hidden gems, and you never know what you might come across in your own collection. Whether you've inherited a box of old coins, found some change in your couch cushions, or have a jar full of pennies, always take the time to inspect them closely. You never know if you're holding on to a rare mint error that could be worth a small fortune. Host stands with the 1964 die crack error nickel displayed in a protective case. Host, and that wraps up today's treasure hunt. If you have a 1964 nickel, be sure to check for that die crack error, because you could be holding onto a coin worth $35,000. Today, we've got something super exciting, a coin that you've probably seen many times but didn't realize it could be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1974 US 5-cent coin, or as most people call it, the nickel. Host holds up the 1974 nickel to the camera, showing its details with enthusiasm. Host, now, I know what you're thinking. A 1974 nickel? It's just pocket change, right? Well, hold on, because this seemingly ordinary nickel could be worth as much as $38,000. That's right, $38,000 for a single 5-cent coin. You don't want to miss this one, so stick around, because we're about to uncover what makes this coin so valuable. Cut to vintage footage of the 1970s, scenes of American life, the economy, and the minting of coins. Host, let's take a quick trip back to 1974. It was a time of great change in America. The country was in the middle of an economic recession, but that didn't stop the U.S. Mint from continuing to produce coins, including the familiar Jefferson nickel. The design for the nickel hasn't changed much since its introduction in 1938, featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his home in Virginia, on the reverse. Host zooms in on the nickel, showing the details of Jefferson's portrait in Monticello. Host, by 1974, the nickel was still in full circulation. But what most people didn't realize is that within this year's batch of 5-cent coins, there was a very rare minting error that would end up making some 1,974 nickels worth thousands of dollars. The camera zooms in on a magnifying glass placed over the 1974 nickel, focusing on its surface. Host, so, what makes the 1974 nickel so valuable? The answer lies in a rare minting error that occurred during production. A small but highly significant number of these coins were struck with a double die error. This is one of the most sought-after types of minting errors in the world of coin collecting. Host demonstrates with a side-by-side comparison of a normal 1974 nickel and a 1974 nickel with the double die error. Host, now, a double die error occurs when the coin's design is stamped twice, resulting in a slight shift in the image on the coin. This can create a double image on certain parts of the coin, like Jefferson's portrait or the date itself. It's a rare mistake, but when it happens, it can make a coin incredibly valuable to collectors. Cut to a scene of a coin expert carefully inspecting a 1974 nickel under a loupe. Host, now, you may be wondering, why is this error so rare and valuable? Well, mint errors like this don't happen often. A double die error happens when the coin is struck more than once, but not perfectly aligned. The result is a slight misalignment that creates the double image on the coin. This happens when the coin isn't properly centered or when there's a problem with the die itself. Host shows the double die error on a 1974 nickel under the magnifying glass. host, collectors are always on the lookout for double die error coins, as they're incredibly difficult to find. The number of 1,974 nickels with this error is very limited, and when they are found, they are often in high demand because they represent a unique piece of history. That's why they can command such high prices at auctions. Cut to footage of a lively coin auction, where bidders are enthusiastically raising their paddles. Host, the world of rare coin collecting is full of competition. Mint error coins, especially those with double die errors, are like the holy grail for collectors. When one of these coins hits the auction block, collectors are willing to fight for it because of the rarity and historical value they offer. Host shows a coin holder with a professionally graded 1974 nickel with the double die error. Host, look at this 1974 nickel. This coin has been graded and protected, and it's a beautiful example of the double die error. This is exactly what collectors dream of finding, and when they do, they're ready to pay top dollar for it. Cut to a dramatic close-up of a coin being sold at auction with an enthusiastic bid being placed. Host, so, you're probably wondering, how much is a 1974 nickel with a double die error really worth? Well, it can vary based on the condition of the coin, but a well-preserved example of this rare error can fetch an astounding $38,000. Host holds up the coin in a protective case, showing it to the camera. Host, that's right, $38,000 for a 1974 nickel with the double die error. From a coin that was originally worth just 5 cents, that's a huge return on investment. Cut to the host demonstrating how to spot the double die error on a 1974 nickel using a magnifying glass. Host, now, if you're wondering how to identify a 1974 nickel with this rare error, here's what to look for. First, examine the date and the portrait of Jefferson carefully. If you notice a slight doubling in the details, like a blurry or doubled outline around Jefferson's face or the year, you may have a double die error on your hands. Host zooms in on the double die effect on the date and portrait. Host, take a close look at the date, especially near the 7 and 4. These should be the most obvious spots where the doubling effect occurs. Also, check the details of Jefferson's hair and face for any additional, faint lines that shouldn't be there. If you find this, you've likely stumbled upon a very valuable coin. Host flips through a collection of coins, checking each one closely under a magnifying glass. Host, coin collecting is all about discovering treasures hidden in the most unexpected places. Whether it's a box of old coins, a jar of loose change, or even a few coins from your childhood, you should always check them closely. You never know what kind of rare mint errors might be waiting for you. Host stands with a 1974 double die error nickel displayed in a protective case. Host, and that's a wrap for today's treasure hunt. If you have a 1974 nickel, make sure to check it carefully for the double die error. You could be holding onto a coin worth $38,000. Today, we're diving into a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but don't be fooled, this little nickel could be worth a fortune. That's right, we're talking about the 1978 US 5-cent coin, also known as the 1978 nickel. Host holds up the 1978 nickel, showing it to the camera. Host, now, you might be thinking, it's just a nickel, right? What's so special about a 1978 5-cent coin? Well, let me tell you, this nickel has something that could make it worth a mind-blowing $43,000. Stick around, because we're about to uncover the secret behind this rare and valuable coin. Cut to footage from the 1970s, with vintage clips of American life, the economy, and the minting of coins. Host, to understand why this 1978 nickel is so valuable, we need to take a quick look at the history behind the coin. The 1978 US nickel continued to feature the iconic design that was first introduced in 1938, President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and Monticello, his famous estate, on the reverse. Host zooms in on the nickel, showing the details of Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello building. Host, the 1978 nickel, like all others in the series, was minted during a time of stability in American coinage. By the late 1970s, the design was well established, and these coins were in circulation, being used daily by people across the country. But what most people didn't realize was that a small portion of these coins would become extremely rare due to a minting error that would cause some 1978 nickels to be worth an astonishing amount of money. Camera zooms in on a magnifying glass placed over the 1978 nickel, focusing on its surface. Host: so, what makes the 1978 nickel so special? The answer lies in a rare minting error, specifically, a double die error. A double die error occurs when a coin is struck more than once by the same die, causing the design to be stamped twice. This results in double images appearing on certain parts of the coin. Host shows a side-by-side comparison of a regular 1978 nickel and a 1978 nickel with the double die error. Host: as you can see here, a regular 1978 nickel has a single image of Jefferson and Monticello. But on the double die error coin, you'll notice a faint doubling of Jefferson's image and sometimes even the date, which can be seen most clearly in the 7 and 8 of 1978. Cut to a scene of a coin expert carefully inspecting a 1978 nickel under a loupe. Host: now, you may be wondering, why is this error so rare and valuable? Well, the reason is that double die errors don't happen very often. These errors occur when the die used to strike the coin is not properly aligned, causing a shift in the design. When this happens, the design appears twice on the coin, creating a unique and highly collectible piece. Host demonstrates the double die error on a 1978 nickel with a magnifying glass. Host: only a small number of these 1978 nickels were struck with this error, making them extremely hard to find. And because mint errors like this are so rare, collectors are always on the lookout for them. The rarity and unique characteristics of these coins make them highly desirable, which drives up their value. Cut to footage of a bustling coin auction, with enthusiastic collectors bidding on rare coins. Host: collecting coins with mint errors is a major part of the numismatic world. Error coins are always in high demand because they offer collectors something unique that can't be found anywhere else. When a 1978 nickel with a double die error is discovered, it quickly becomes the center of attention at coin auctions and among collectors. Host shows a coin holder with a professionally graded 1978 nickel featuring the double die error. Host: take a look at this 1978 nickel that has been graded by a professional coin grading service. This coin is in excellent condition, making it even more valuable. When graded properly and stored in perfect condition, a 1978 nickel with a double die error can be worth a significant amount, far more than its original 5-cent value. Cut to a close-up of an auctioneer raising their gavel as the price for a 1978 nickel with a double die error is announced. Host: so, how much could your 1978 nickel with a double die error be worth? The price can vary depending on the condition of the coin, but a well-preserved example of this rare mint error can fetch an impressive $43,000. Host holds up the coin with a smile and points excitedly at the camera. Host: that's right, $43,000 for a 1978 nickel with a double die error. Can you believe that? A coin that was originally worth just 5 cents could now make you a small fortune. Cut to the host demonstrating how to spot the double die error on a 1978 nickel using a magnifying glass. Host: if you're wondering how to identify a 1978 nickel with this rare double die error, here's what you should look for. First, carefully examine the date and Jefferson's portrait. You're looking for signs of doubling, especially around the numbers in the year and Jefferson's facial features. Host zooms in on the double die effect on the date and portrait. Host: take a close look at the 7 and 8 in the year. If you see any noticeable doubling or extra lines around these numbers, you've likely found a double die error. You may also notice doubling around Jefferson's eye, cheek, or hairline. Host flips through a collection of coins, checking each one under a magnifying glass. Host: whether it's a jar of old change, a collection passed down through generations, or just some loose coins lying around, it's always worth checking for hidden treasures. You never know what you might find. Host picks up a few more coins from the display table, smiling and winking at the camera. Host: you could be sitting on a rare mint error coin without even knowing it. So, be sure to carefully examine your coins, you could discover something worth thousands of dollars. Host stands with a 1978 double die error nickel displayed in a protective case. Host, and that's all for today's exciting episode. If you happen to have a 1978 nickel, make sure to check it for the double die error. It could be worth $43,000. Today, we're talking about something many collectors overlook, an often unassuming 5-cent coin. But don't let the low denomination fool you. This particular 1993 US 5-cent coin could be worth a whole lot more than just 5 cents. And we're talking about an eye-popping $48,000. Yes, you heard that right. Stick around because we're about to reveal the secret that makes this coin so valuable. Host holds up the 1993 nickel, showing it to the camera. Host, now, you might be thinking, a 1993 nickel? What's so special about that? Well, I'm here to tell you, this is no ordinary nickel. Let's dive into the fascinating details about this coin that could make you a fortune. Cut to vintage footage of the early 1990s, people going about their daily lives, U.S. Mint operations, and economic highlights of the time. Host, before we get into why this 1993 nickel is worth so much, let's take a quick look at the history behind it. The 1993 nickel, like all nickels since 1938, features President Thomas Jefferson on the front, and Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse. This design was created by Felix Schlag and has remained a staple of American coinage for decades. Host zooms in on the details of the nickel, highlighting Jefferson's portrait and Monticello. Host, nothing too extraordinary about the design, right? Just a regular nickel. However, there's something that happened during the minting process in 1993 that would make this coin something extraordinary to find. So, let's dig deeper into the real reason this coin is so valuable. Camera zooms in on the coin under a magnifying glass, highlighting the fine details of the nickel's design. Host, so, what makes the 1993 nickel so valuable? The answer lies in a rare mint error, specifically, the no mint mark error. Normally, all U.S. coins have a mint mark that tells us which U.S. mint facility struck the coin. For nickels, you'll typically see either a D for the Denver Mint or no mint mark at all for coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Host holds up two nickels, one with a mint mark and one without, and points to the difference. Host, but here's the thing, the 1993 nickel was supposed to be struck in Philadelphia, where coins are typically produced without any mint mark. However, due to a minting oversight, a number of these 1993 nickels were accidentally struck without the usual P mint mark. Host places the two coins side by side, showing the blank space where the mint mark should be. Host, now, while most nickels from 1993 have the P mint mark, these error coins, those without any mint mark at all, are incredibly rare. In fact, they're considered one of the most coveted minting mistakes by collectors. When you find one, it's a big deal. Cut to a coin expert using a loupe to examine a 1993 nickel. Host, minting errors happen from time to time, but a coin struck without its intended mint mark is especially rare. Why? Well, for most coins, mint marks are applied during the final stages of production. For this particular error, the coins that were supposed to be struck in Philadelphia came out blank. It's a manufacturing anomaly that caused these coins to be struck without the mint mark that is typically present on Philadelphia coins. Host compares the normal 1993 nickel with the error coin, pointing to the mint mark, or lack thereof. Host, this error is incredibly difficult to find because, naturally, most of the 1993 nickels were made properly. But for those lucky enough to stumble upon one of these mint markless coins, they could be holding onto something very special indeed. Cut to a bustling coin auction, with collectors eagerly bidding on rare coins. Host, now, we all know that rarity plays a huge role in the value of any collectible, and this is especially true in the coin world. When a mint error like the 1993 no mint mark nickel appears, it creates a massive demand among collectors. Coin collectors, particularly those who specialize in error coins, will often pay top dollar for these pieces, especially when they are in great condition. Host shows a professionally graded 1993 nickel with the mint error displayed in a protective case. Host, just take a look at this 1993 nickel with the mint error, which has been graded by a professional service. It's in excellent condition, and that means it's even more valuable. These coins are highly sought after at auctions, and if you have one in your collection, you could be sitting on a goldmine. Cut to a scene of a coin auction with intense bidding happening on a 1993 nickel. Host, so, how much could your 1993 nickel with the missing mint mark be worth? Well, it depends on the condition, but coins with this rare minting error have been known to sell for $48,000. Host holds up the error coin and smiles at the camera. Host, yes, you heard that right, $48,000 for a 1993 nickel with no mint mark. Can you imagine finding one of these in your spare change? What a windfall! Cut to the host demonstrating how to check for the missing mint mark on a 1993 nickel using a magnifying glass. Host, now, if you're wondering how to check if you've got one of these rare 1993 nickels, here's how. First, take a good look at the obverse, right below the date. Normally, a nickel from Philadelphia would have a P mint mark here, but for the error coins, there will be nothing, just a blank spot. Host zooms in on the area below the date where the mint mark should appear. Host, make sure to use a magnifying glass or a loupe, as sometimes wear and tear can make the mint mark harder to spot. And remember, condition is everything. Well-preserved coins will be much more valuable than those that are worn down. Host flips through a collection of nickels, carefully inspecting each one. Host, even if you don't think you have any rare coins, it's always worth checking your collection. Whether it's a jar of change or a box of coins you've collected over the years, you might just find something special hiding in plain sight. Host picks up a few more coins from the table, giving the camera an enthusiastic smile. Host, sometimes the most unexpected coins can turn out to be worth thousands of dollars, so never underestimate the value of your collection. Host stands, holding the 1993 no mint mark nickel in a protective display case. Host, and that's a wrap for today's exciting episode on the 1993 US 5-cent coin with the no mint mark error. If you have one of these, it could be worth an incredible $48,000. Today, we have a coin that could be worth a jaw-dropping $55,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $55,000 for a 5-cent coin from 1988. But wait, this isn't just any 1988 nickel. Stick around as we uncover why this particular coin is causing such a stir in the world of numismatics. Host holds up the 1988 nickel and moves it closer to the camera, showcasing the front of the coin. Host, now, you might be thinking, a 1988 nickel? That's just a regular old coin. But in the world of rare coins, the seemingly ordinary can turn into something extraordinary. Let's dive into the fascinating story behind this particular nickel and see what makes it worth such a fortune. Cut to a quick montage of the late 1980s, footage of American life, pop culture, and the economy. The scene transitions to the US mint and coin production during that time. Host, to understand the value of this 1988 nickel, we need to take a quick look at the history behind it. The 1988 US 5-cent coin, also known as the nickel, features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by artist Felix Schlag. On the reverse, we see Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, continuing the design that has graced the nickel since 1938. Host zooms in on the design of Jefferson and Monticello, showcasing the detailed engravings. Host, at first glance, this looks like any other nickel you might come across. It was minted in huge quantities at both the Denver and Philadelphia mints in 1988, with a standard D mint mark for Denver and no mint mark for Philadelphia. But there's one key detail that makes a few of these coins worth a fortune: an incredibly rare minting error. Cut to a close-up of the 1988 nickel, with the camera highlighting the details of the coin and focusing on the mint mark area. Host, so, what makes the 1988 nickel so valuable? The answer lies in a rare mint error that happened during the production process. It's all about a missing mint mark, but not just any mint mark error. Let me explain. Host holds up a regular 1988 nickel with a mint mark and compares it to one that has the mint mark area blank. Host: normally, a 1988 nickel minted in Denver will have a D mint mark, and a coin from the Philadelphia Mint won't have any mint mark at all. However, there were some 1988 nickels produced with no mint mark at all, even though they were supposed to be struck in Denver. These coins were supposed to have a D, but somehow they came out blank. This is a serious minting error that collectors are absolutely desperate to get their hands on. Cut to a coin expert using a magnifying glass to examine the error coin, looking for signs of wear and tear. Host: mint errors like this don't happen every day, which is why they're so sought after. The mistake happened when the minting machines at the Denver Mint failed to apply the mint mark to a portion of the 1988 coins, and these coins made it out into circulation without it. Host shows a side-by-side comparison of a standard 1988 nickel with a D mint mark and one without any mint mark at all. Host: now, remember, these coins were supposed to have a D mint mark, but only a very small number of these 1988 nickels came out without one. That makes these error coins incredibly rare. You could sift through rolls of nickels, or even look through jars of loose change, and never find one of these error coins. But if you do, you could be sitting on a gold mine. Cut to footage of a coin auction, with an excited crowd bidding for rare error coins. Host: now, collectors are always on the lookout for rare and unique coins, especially those with mint errors. In the world of numismatics, errors like the missing mint mark on the 1988 nickel are considered holy grails. These error coins don't just sit in someone's collection, they often end up at auction, where the price can go through the roof. Host shows an auction site or an image of a graded 1988 nickel without the mint mark in a protective case. Host: for example, coins that have been graded by professional services as uncirculated, meaning they've never been used in everyday transactions, can fetch a premium price. So, what's the price of a 1988 nickel with the missing mint mark? Well, depending on the condition and rarity, you could see it go for an impressive amount. Cut to a dramatic close-up of an auction bid skyrocketing as collectors try to outbid each other. Host: ready for the big reveal? If you happen to have one of these rare 1988 nickels without the mint mark, and it's in great condition, your coin could be worth a staggering $55,000. Host holds up the error coin proudly, giving the camera an enthusiastic smile. Host: yes, $55,000 for a single 1988 nickel with a missing mint mark. Who would have thought a 5-cent coin could be worth so much, right? Host zooms in on the mint mark area of the coin, showing how to identify the missing mint mark error. Host: okay, now you're probably wondering how to check if your 1988 nickel is one of these rare error coins. First, take a close look at the area beneath the date. Normally, you'll see a D mint mark for coins struck in Denver. But if there's nothing there, then you've got an error coin. Host shows a zoomed-in view of the area under the date, where the mint mark should be, clearly demonstrating the missing mint mark. Host: be sure to use a magnifying glass to check closely. It's easy to mistake wear and tear for a missing mint mark, but if there's no mint mark at all, then you found yourself an error coin worth serious money. Host flips through a stack of nickels, carefully inspecting each one. Host: now, you might be wondering, could I have one of these rare coins lying around in my collection? The answer is yes. Whether you've got a handful of old coins in a jar or a box full of change from the 1980s, it's always worth checking them out. You never know what hidden treasures you might have just waiting to be discovered. Host stands with a smile, holding the rare 1988 nickel in a protective display case. Host: and that wraps up today's video about the 1988 US 5-cent coin with the missing mint mark error. If you find one of these in your collection, it could be worth a mind-blowing $55,000. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more exciting coin hunts, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chance to discover rare coins like this one. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting.